This is Mac OS Ken.
Wall Street lowers Apple price targets, App Store guidelines lower barriers, and the Oracle of Omaha praises Tim Cook. It is Monday, the 5th of May, 2025. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by OpenCase. MagSafe for iPhone perfected. Get 10% off your purchase with code MacOSKen at theopencase.com. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. We'll start with analyst reactions to last Thursday's Apple earnings call for the second quarter of fiscal year 2025. Apple 3.0 gathered those reactions. Just about every note expressed concern over tariffs and the $900 million hit Apple says those tariffs will put on its costs. UBS analyst David Vogt and Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani said practically the same thing. Each sees the immediate impact as either manageable or largely manageable, though things are cloudy past the end of June. Vogt is neutral on Apple with a $210 price target. Daryanani is overweight on Apple with a price target of $250. A few notes mentioned the hurt last week's ruling in the Epic case could put on services revenue. That's the new set of rules that basically opens lines of communication between app developers and their customers that Apple had locked down. It also keeps Apple from charging for purchases made outside the App Store, but we'll get to all of that in a bit. That seems to have played into a move on Apple's price target from JP Morgan analyst Samik Chatterjee. He pointed to the absence of a specific growth target for services in the third quarter of the fiscal year that's likely to increase concerns around the impact of last week's Epic ruling. He's got an overweight rating on Apple shares, though he did trim his 12-month price target on the shares from $245 to $240. Many analysts moved their Apple targets a little south, including B of A analyst Wamsi Mohan, who keeps a buy rating on the shares but dropped his target from $240 to $235. Goldman Sachs analyst Mike Ng, who keeps a buy rating on the shares but dropped his target from $259 to $253. Rosenblatt analyst Barton Crockett actually dropped his rating on Apple from buy to hold, according to a piece from Bloomberg. Oddly enough, though, he kept his price target at $263. Barclays analyst Tim Long maintains a sell rating on Apple shares. I guess he means it harder now, though, having dropped his price target on the shares from $197 to $173. And finally, leave it to one guy to swim the other way. Just a month after dropping his Apple price target from $325 to $250, Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives heard all of last week's uncertainty and raised his price target on Apple shares anyway. Quoting his note, in Apple's earnings/conference call, the company delivered generally solid results, with China geographically performing better than expectations and was flat year-over-year constant currency, a significant improvement from the prior quarter. The elephant in the room continues to be the tariff tornado, with Apple and Cook caught in the eye of the storm. And we learned on the conference call that India will be the life raft supply chain that should help Apple navigate the unprecedented tense environment in China. The man likes the life raft. Ives maintains an outperform rating on Apple shares. He used his note to raise his 12-month price target on the shares from $250 to $270. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't take Apple more than a minute to update its App Store guidelines after last week's Epic ruling, and it didn't take developers much longer to avail themselves of the change. 9to5Mac ran a piece last Thursday outlining the changes Apple had outlined. For the US App Store, they include apps are not prohibited from including buttons, external links, or other calls to action when allowing users to browse NFT collections owned by others. There is no prohibition on an app including buttons, external links, or other calls to action, and no entitlement is required to do so. The prohibition on encouraging users to use a purchasing method other than in-app purchase does not apply, and the external link account entitlement is not required for apps to include buttons, external links, or other calls to action. In short, lines of communication between app developers and their customers that Apple had locked down are now open. Reports late last week said that a number of big applications, including Patreon and Spotify, were working on updates to take advantage of the updated guidelines. First across the finish line, it's Spotify. A piece on Friday from 9 to 5 Mac said Apple had officially approved an updated app for the audio streaming service, making Spotify's the first app with links to external payment options in the United States. Apple's been hit with a $500 million judgment in the UK. Quoting a piece from Apple Insider, the UK's Court of Appeal has declared Apple's payment to patent troll Optis Cellular for standard essential 4G payment royalties is too low, with the iPhone maker now on the hook for $502 million. Whole thing sounds kind of messy. Just under 3 years ago, the piece says the UK's High Court ruled that Apple did owe Optis royalties for some of its 4G patents, awarding the company $56.43 million plus interest. Now the UK Court of Appeal says an Optis challenge is correct and that Apple should pay just under 10 times the original amount awarded for the use of the 4G patents in iPhones and other cellular devices. According to Apple Insider, the partially redacted ruling from the Court of Appeals states that Apple should pay the lump sum to cover the period of 2013 to 2027. That $502 million would pay for a global license to use patents from Optis. You will be surprised to hear that Apple was disappointed by the decision. The company plans to appeal, according to the report. More news in a moment, but first I am very happy to welcome a new sponsor to macOS Ken, OpenCase, MagSafe for iPhone perfected. When Apple introduced MagSafe for iPhone, it was revolutionary, using magnets to line up wireless chargers, attach accessories. To a lot of people, it seemed perfect. To the creator of OpenCase, it seemed almost perfect. John Rokos is a guy on the go. Watching Apple's MagSafe demo, all he could see was a MagSafe wallet falling off when shoving his phone into his back pocket. He bought one, he tried it out, and sure enough, shearing his wallet was easy. You don't want that to be easy. So he fixed it. By making a case with an opening for MagSafe accessories, OpenCase doesn't just protect your iPhone's back against nicks and scratches, it also gives MagSafe accessories a place to sit. The magnets hold your accessories in place, the opening keeps them in place. Yes, your accessories. One of the best things about OpenCase, it doesn't lock you into somebody else's system. A lot of accessories you already have, like Apple's MagSafe wallet or battery, work with OpenCase. Or you can check out the range of accessories they have. Personally, I cannot recommend the Mag Wallet by OpenCase enough. It's been my primary wallet and OpenCase my primary case for well over a year. I'm honestly not sure where my other cases are. Check them out for yourself. Go to theopencase.com, pick your case and accessories, then use code macOSKen at checkout for 10% off. The cases are available for the iPhone 16 line and currently on sale for iPhone 14 and 15. If you're ready to secure the accessories you have, or finally see what MagSafe for iPhone can do, Get 10% off your purchase with code MacOSKen at theopencase.com. That's 10% off your purchase with code MacOSKen at theopencase.com. The Oracle of Omaha is hanging up his hat, surprising everyone, including his own board. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac says Berkshire Hathaway CEO and longtime Apple backer Warren Buffett announced Saturday that he will retire at the end of 2025. Buffett, 94, spent more than 6 decades at the helm of Berkshire Hathaway, which was Apple's largest institutional shareholder until last year. Buffett made the announcement at Berkshire Hathaway's annual meeting in Omaha, Nebraska. While news of his retirement was certainly the most unusual announcement, it wasn't the only unusual comment. Addressing the thousands of people in attendance, Buffett called out the performance of Apple CEO Tim Cook, saying that such comments aren't usually done, and saying that Apple's is the only investment quarterly call to which he listens. Buffett joked that Tim Cook has made Berkshire Hathaway a lot more money than Buffett ever did. Buffett acknowledged that Steve Jobs did things that nobody else could have done in developing Apple. While nobody but Steve could have created the company, according to Buffett, nobody but Tim could have developed it the way it's developed. Responding later, Apple's CEO hit the hell side on Saturday, saying in part, "There's never been someone like Warren, and countless people, myself included, have been inspired by his wisdom. It's been one of the great privileges of my life to know him." Less soccer for less money. With a percentage of the 2025 Major League Soccer season in the books, Apple's taken a percentage off the cost of a subscription for the rest of it. Variety says folks subscribing to the remainder of the season can do so at a discount. That brings the rest of the season down to $69 for regular subscribers, a 30% cut, or $59 for subscribers to Apple TV Plus, a discount of 25%. The savings are only for buying in bulk. Monthly prices remain $14.99 or $12.99 with Apple's streaming service. And finally today, have you caught the first 2 episodes of Apple's historical French drama, Carême? The one about the world's first celebrity chef who was so good and so famous, people in power in 1800s France used him as a spy? I have not, but I'm thinking I might have to. As of this writing, the show is absolutely crushing it on Rotten Tomatoes. Though it's only been reviewed by 15 critics so far, it has got an unbelievably fresh score of 100%. 2 episodes available now. New episodes hit 1 per week on Wednesdays. Let me know what you think. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by OpenCase, MagSafe for iPhone, perfected. Get 10% off your purchase with code MacOSKen at theopencase.com. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.